Like, this is not just as generic weapons. This is overall, right? Like, how good the weapon is on their respective carries is also an important factor. Genshin 5-star weapon tier list. There's every single weapon in the game here. There's too many, man. This one should only be 5-star ones. A little bit older, but that's fine. We're missing a couple, but that's okay. Alright, let's start by just putting all the weapons of the same types together to make this easier. So, we can start with swords. Alright. What's the best sword in the game? Probably Freedom Sword? No. The thing is, Freedom Sword is a great sword, but it's not good on Kazuha. And Key's a great sword, but it's not good on... Nilo's not good, so you don't use it on her either. Like, Freedom Sword is a pretty good generic support weapon that you can use on Shilonen, you can use on Kuki, you can use on Bennett. Key's a great weapon on Farina. It's good on Kuki. I don't know what the best carry weapon is. It's probably a crit damage one, because there's quite a few sword characters that get a lot of external crit rate. So crit rate swords kind of get cucked by that. Uraku slash Mistsplitter. The problem is that the characters on which Mistsplitter is good, it's barely better than the other options you have. Just for the 4 stars. Like, on Skirk, it's barely better than Eshu. Maybe it's actually Chiori's Sig. I don't think any of the swords is particularly great, though. Why is there fucking triple S tier? Like, bro, calm the fuck down. I guess Uraku, Mistsplitter, and Key. Then one tier below would be Freedom Sworn, Absolution. And then below that, Haran, Lo-Fi. The thing is, Lo-Fi is not even that much worse than Chiori's Sig on a bunch of characters, so maybe it goes here. I don't know. Anyways, Uraku... No, sorry, Haran. I guess Peak Patrol. And Aquila and Skyward go here. Then Jade Cutter and Farina's Sig, and then Summit Shaper. Probably. But honestly, like, deep down, what I want to do is this. Jade is low. The reason why Jade is low is because too many of the sword carries get a lot of crit rate steroids from either their kit directly or their best artifact sets. And so, Jade Cutter overcaps you on way too many of them. Right? Chlorine gets 20% from her passive, and Marie-Josée is good on her on a lot of on teams where she uses Farina, but even without the Marie-Josée, she still gets a lot from passive. Ayaka gets a lot from said bonus. Chlorine is also great to send, yeah. Universal weapons are just about it. Yeah, I've made that pretty clear. Maybe we can make it clearer. Like this. Alright. Next. Which one does Jello do next? Claymores. Let's do Claymores. The biggest thing with Claymores is that they don't have access to something as broken as Finale for free-to-play stuff. And Serpent Spine can be annoying to use, and a lot of people don't fully pre-stack it. Which inherently gives all the Claymore statistics a little bit more value. I'd say that Malika's Sig and Redhorn. The only reason why Redhorn is good is because of the fucking melt carries. Or not the melt carry, but like it's because the Claymore carries all use Bennett. Yeah, let's just put it here, man. I think Bacon goes here too. I think Kenichi Sig also goes here, and Verdict also goes here. Maybe they're one down, actually. Wolves is probably here. And then these all go here. What's the trigger condition for Song of Broken Pines again? It's 4 normal attacks. Could we ever have a support that actually uses this? I mean, maybe we could at some point. But right now, yeah. Okay, cool. Which one does he do after? Bows? Chat, is it a hot take to say that bows are kind of inherently worse because Skyward Harp is one of the best standard weapons? So anyone who has it inherently gets less value from bows? Not that they don't get any, but they get less. This is, what, 16 damage percent and, like, somewhere between 16 and 50 attack percent. This is pretty much guaranteed 48 damage percent and conditional 24 attack. I think Vulture and Aqua make it an A. I think First Grade Magic is just barely below. Elegy, probably also in B. The biggest problem with Elegy is that Fav is broken, and a lot of the characters that can consider using Elegy often would otherwise be using Fav, and because Fav is so fucking good, the gap between your team having Fav and your team having Elegy isn't actually that insane. It's still a good weapon. Polar Star is probably here, along with Thundering Pulse. And Hunter's Path here. Probably Skyward here too. And Amos here, and yeah. Is Hunter's Path that bad? It's got the same problem as Haran does and Jade Cutter. Crit rate weapons are just inherently worse than crit damage weapons. And there's quite a few bow characters that actually do reach 100 crit. Which one does he do after that? Catalysts? Oh, did I skip Polearms? I did. Oopsie. Polearms. We don't have the fork. Fork is the only weapon that goes here, by the way. But it's not in this template. What's fork? Is this Kafi's signature? Anyways. What's the best polearm outside of fork? I don't know, actually. I guess it's engulfing, maybe? No. They all have problems. They're either, like, actively awful stat sticks, but good on their carries, or they're decent stat sticks, but either bad on their carries or just their carries dog shit. Like, if Sino was a good unit, this weapon would probably be the best polearm. Because there's not actually that many polearm characters that stack a lot of crit, and it's a really powerful effect, right? I'm really not sure, honestly. I don't think there's gonna be a polearm in here. How good or bad is Skirk's weapon for characters other than Skirk? It's pretty average. I guess Arlecchino's Sig, Engulfing, make it here. Arlecchino's Sig is niche. Yes, but Arlecchino's an actual good character, and she gains a lot from her weapon. And I think you guys are heavily overestimating Homa as a stat stick. It is not a good stat stick. Okay? Crimson isn't either. I mean, sure, but it's actually not that much worse than Homa as a stat stick. And it's really good on Arlecchino. And this is not just as generic weapons. This is overall, right? Like, how good the weapon is on their respective carries is also an important factor. Maybe Staff of Scarlet Sands makes it here, too. Isn't the weapon good on her? Yes, but not even that good, and also, she's a bad character. Like, that's important, too. Anyways. In C, probably have Lumidus, Calamity Queller, Homa, and Jadewing Spear. And then Okay, unironically, Skyward Spine is not here anymore. It's here now. Because of Escoffier. Right. And finally, Catalyst. I guess we can start with this and this. And this. Get that shit out of the way. And this. There's a lot of dog shit Catalyst, huh? Nahida weapon kind of shit too. Yeah, but it's not as bad. The fact that this is a 40 EM buff makes it inherently a pretty decent option on any Catalyst support on reaction teams. It's not a good weapon for Nahida, but it's alright on Sucrose. And it's also a fine stat stick for Molani. It's not good, but it's not in the complete and utter dog shit tier. Atlas is probably an F as well. Maybe in a high F, but no. We're not ordering within the tiers. I can't be bothered doing that. Bell maybe makes it in D, I guess. I thought Shalonen and Sig was good. The main problem with Shalonen and Sig is that Fab exists. Kagura's probably is in C. No, it's probably in D. Kagura's is a pretty good stat stick, but it's not. Like, that's the thing. There's a few characters that actually do fulfill the conditions for Kagura's, making it not that awful. But it isn't actually a good stat stick. Like, if you don't do skill damage, this is a conditional 12 damage percent. And a lot of characters can't get it at all, which means it effectively doesn't have a passive. Lost Prayers is probably in D and C. It's a lot better in co-op. Maybe it doesn't make C because it's not that much better than Kagura's as a stat stick. Maybe it's just like in a high D. Tome as a weapon gets carried by how good Navidad is. Like kind of like Crimson Moon Semblance, I think. So I think I'll put it in B. Cash Flow is probably C. Rain's Echoing Call. It's probably the most specific support weapon, but it's also the most powerful one. Like, compared to the other support weapons, it's only really used on one character, but it also makes a much bigger difference for that character than like Peak Patrol for Shilonen. I think C because it's similar to Lumideus, but I don't think it's... I get what you're saying, but the problem is it just does more for your Shanyan teams than Lumideus does for Emily's teams. I think C is reasonable, though. But it's either B or C. One of the two, I'd say. I don't know where Surf's Up would be. Probably in C as well. The biggest thing with Surf's Up is that speedrunning focused characters inherently benefit a lot more from vertical primogen investment. Increasing your team DPS by, I don't know, 30% on a Molani team is going to help you reach breakpoints to one-rotate a lot more things. And that's not going to make your teams 30% faster, it'll make them like 50% faster. So maybe it makes B because of that. I guess it does. And honestly, I'll put Crimson Moon Semblance down. You guys have convinced me. And finally, Sitlali's weapon. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Sitlali's weapon, I've warmed up to it a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. Just because there's a lot of Sitlali teams where your rotations are less than 20 seconds. But the biggest problem with it is that usually when you start considering going for SIGs and cons on characters, you don't reach the second rotation anymore. But in the new mode, you will. So, I guess it goes C because of that. Okay, and then weapons release after that, we have what? Vivid Notion, Fork. Is that it? Yeah, it's only Vivid Notion and Fork. So, Fork would be here, and I wonder if Vivid Notion makes it here. I think it does. Like, 28% is fucked up. What do you mean? The fucking generic effect from Vivid Notion gives you almost as much attack as Homa and Hu Tao. Like, what the fuck, man? Because, like, Hu Tao is always played with Freda, which means she's never below 50% HP. Alright, she's got 15, 5, 5, 2. And you honestly use EM Sands. So your HP percent is going to be Hydro Resonance, 20 from subs, 20 from Homa effect. Your HP, flat HP, going to be about 5k. Total HP is going to be about 30k. Which means the attack you get from Homa is about 245. 28% attack for a carry with like 300-ish base attack, which is the 5-star carries almost all have more than that, right? Is more. Vivid Notion as a generic stat stick gives more stats, or like the passive gives more attack than Hu Tao's signature's passive gives you on Hu Tao. It's like, it's funny. Like, it is actually funny. But I guess it's not that great of a stat stick because, I mean, it is a good stat stick, but Homa isn't that insane of a stat stick either, so like, but Vrisa, I think, is a good enough character for the weapon to make it here anyways, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. Skirk's weapon? Ooh, good question. This is conditional 24% attack on other characters. And his crit rate ascension, so some characters won't be able to use it. It probably goes B then. Maybe it still makes it A because Skirk is good enough and it's really powerful on Skirk. Does it snapshot? I don't think it does. Maybe it does. I don't know, actually. Because the Sig set doesn't snapshot. But normal and burst damage are stats that often don't snapshot, whereas attack and crit usually do. But I don't know. Is it only the Fork and S? Yeah. The fact that Fork is like almost as good as a carries Sig in teams that use Escoffier for your team DPS, while also being best in slot on really popular supports with Chevaliers and Yansan, makes it pretty clearly the best 5-star weapon in the game.